Okay, so visualize this. What really happens when the world's most marketable female basketball player is utterly ignored and excluded from the Olympic team? It turns out that it has the power to completely blow up the system and completely upend everything. The head honcho's responsibilities seem to be at stake. And believe me when I say that this choice has had a huge impact. After Caitlin Clark was shockingly left out of the Olympics, USA Basketball was unable to watch helplessly. They announced a massive overhaul of their whole selection process and pressed the reset button. In all honesty, people are being shown the door in what is really the epitome of karma in action. The Indiana Fever Stars route to the bright lights of Los Angeles in 2028 appears to be very different now that the renowned Sue Bird has assumed a position of enormous authority. Nobody, and I really mean nobody, could have predicted the extent of the repercussions that followed that original decision. So, let's take a closer look at what actually happened behind the scenes with Cheryl Reeve at the U.S. Olympic Committee. And if you're as excited for Caitlin's complete dominance at the Olympics as I am, please hit the like button and leave CC 2028 in the comment section below. Come on. It used to be a committee. Dawn Staley, Jennifer Rizzuti, and all of the hooligans associated in picking the USA basketball team. All of the hooligans, Cheryl Reeves included, so full of themselves, so bound by tribalism that they just couldn't look past their own nose. And at the end of the day, look at them now. Look at them now. The same fate as Cheryl Swoops calling those Dallas Wings games. Tell me when the official line now states that the committee excluded Caitlin Clark from the Olympic team for a variety of legitimate reasons. Or at least that's the story they really wanted us to believe. The chair of this crucial selection committee, Jen Rosati, went on record asserting that the decision was made solely based on basketball standards. She made it clear that experience was crucial, performing abroad was crucial, and get this, marketability and popularity had no bearing on their choices. Remember during the Olympics, the person from either South Korea or Japan were, holding up the Caitlin Clark sign? Team USA looked at that gentleman and said, $, $, $. These people over there in Japan, these people over there in South Korea, they're not paying for a Team USA to come and watch you, but they'll pay for a Caitlin Clark. In fact, they are so strong about voicing that they'll pay for Caitlin Clark. They'll come to the Olympic game holding a sign that says, Just a minute, please. Why are they really trying to convey to us that they just ignored the most significant player in women's basketball at the moment? A phenomenon who has also completely destroyed nearly every known NCAA scoring record. In less than a year, this player has raised and utterly changed the women's basketball scene by adding previously unheard of perspectives to the game. Do you think that makes any sense at all? Let's also refute the notion that popularity was the sole contributing element, because, as you can see from her resume, Clark earned a great deal of international experience while playing for the USA and the FIA, where she was much than just a participant. She was named the tournament champion after winning gold twice. Let's take a closer look at what actually happened during Clark's thrilling WNBA debut. It was completely crazy. The price of tickets increased significantly each time the Indiana Fever visited a new city. They surged several times over their initial price. Teams that had previously had trouble filling even half of their arena now boasted fully sold-out audiences. Before Clark came, it was practically unheard of. And here's the thing. More people watched the Indiana Fever's inaugural game against the Connecticut Sun than any other NBA playoff game that week. For the WNBA, that is a historic occasion. Oh, and it wasn't just Clark's rookie jersey that sold the most stuff. It completely outpaced the sales of every other player. The competition wasn't even close. Not to mention that she wasn't just good throughout her incredible rookie season. She achieved an amazing 60. These weren't only enhancements. These changes were seismic. In front of our eyes, there was a significant shift in the basic way that people watched and participated in women's basketball. Nevertheless, the Olympic Committee considered all of this and decided that this athlete, this generational talent, wasn't valuable enough to be on the squad for some mysterious, perplexing reason. There was an instantaneous, massive, and fierce protest from all quarters of the sports world. Basketball insiders who are passionate about the sport were able to see right through that weak, obvious defense. Even the normally vocal Stephen Smith didn't hold back, completely dissecting the choice and claiming that it purposefully impeded the advancement of women's basketball at a crucial point. It was dubbed the biggest marketing gaffe in basketball history by none other than four-time Olympic gold medalist Lisa Leslie, a legend in her own right. And what are you aware of? An outdated system was blatantly exposed by this whole mess. One that was obviously run by those who were adamantly opposed to change and adaptation. It seems that the committee continued to act as though women's basketball was having difficulty receiving any kind of attention. Trapped in a 2004 time warp, they were unable or unwilling to recognize that Clark was much more than a talented athlete. She offered a once-in-a-generation chance to effectively advance the sport overall, not only at home but also on a genuinely worldwide level. Think about it. Those who might not usually pay attention to sports become casual fans during the Olympics. By definition, it is the best period for new stars to emerge and captivate the attention of the globe. Amazingly, however, the committee deliberately chose to leave out the one athlete who had so clearly proven her unique capacity to draw in those extremely important viewers. All of this ultimately boils down to a more significant problem, one about women's basketball possibly losing its crucial global status. The committee's steadfast, nearly inflexible emphasis on putting experience ahead of celebrity power meant that something had to go. And let's face it, raw magnetic appeal turned out to be nothing less than a complete PR disaster. The public's rage was evident. Ignoring it was just not an option. The mistake was completely unjustifiable because it was so evident. Even though the public's response was largely negative, it turned out that the Olympic snub, as surprising as it was really the most prominent and visible part of a much larger issue. In actuality, USA Basketball's entire operation was quietly going on behind the scenes, displaying serious problems that could no longer be ignored or brushed under the rug. Clark's exclusion from the team wasn't a singular mistake. It was the obvious result of a system that was fundamentally flawed and about to collapse around its own designers. For her part, Cheryl Reeve fervently wants you, the audience, to think that she had nothing at all to do with Caitlin Clark's contentious rejection from the Olympic squad. She even stated that she was only getting a lot of criticism for USA Basketball, as if she were an innocent bystander, and in her own public pronouncements, she claimed to have very little, if any, control over the squad selection process. Excellent work, coach. What a show. The real facts, however, provide a completely different and much more illuminating picture. You see, Reeve had an obvious and indisputable influence on the selecting process despite her denials. Jen Rossotti, the chair of that same selection committee, publicly acknowledged an important fact. Even though she wasn't the only voice in the room, the team was put together especially to meet Reeves's distinct coaching style and philosophy. Therefore, what Reeve really means when she says that she had no power or influence is that she really didn't want to take responsibility. When fans and the basketball community as a whole began to wonder why the most prominent and talked about player in women's basketball was confined to watching from home, along with merely losing the gold medal game to France, the U.S. women's team was caught up in controversy leading up to the Olympics because Caitlin Clark was not on the team. The argument not to take Clark, a rising global megastar in the sport, was in part because she had not participated in many Team USA off-season functions, and also because there were women with more national team experience who had earned the right to play at the Olympics. Let's now examine the players who were really chosen for the final roster in more detail. What do you observe? A lineup that was mostly composed of veterans who fully satisfied Reeve's requirements. Athletes that clearly put defense first, sometimes even more, so than sheer offensive power. From top to bottom, the committee's judgments were unquestionably in line with Reeve's well-known Minnesota Lynx mindset. Here's the worst part. This strategy, this steadfast devotion to a specific style, nearly lost Team USA the desired gold medal, good enough to be on the team. Based on how Caitlin Clark was playing, at the time, she was worthy of being on this team. This is Caitlin Clark up against Jewel Lloyd, Diana Taurasi, and Kelsey Plum. Yeah, it's tough when you see it in front of you, right? We don't even fit with the Chelsea Gray's not even on this graph. Why isn't Chelsea Gray on this graph, you may ask? Great question. Chelsea Gray started at the beginning of the season. Do you recall that key game against France? Everyone anticipated that Team USA would win the match with ease. Instead, during that fiercely tough game, the squad narrowly, that is, barely won with a thrilling score. It was evident that the squad found it difficult to generate any type of consistent, dependable offensive, particularly when it mattered most. The defense would repeatedly collapse on players like A.L. Wilson or Brianna Stewart inside, leaving the ball still and stagnant and leading to a terrible lack of three-point shooting. For these reasons, a player with Caitlin Clark's special skill set might have been just what they needed to make a big difference. The team frequently lacked the unadulterated enthusiasm and creative, free-flowing playmaking that so clearly defined Clark's approach, frequently coming across as plodding, formulaic, and even uninspired toward the end.